Benson, not your first media day by any means, but your first media day with your wife. So what's it been like throughout fight week this whole time? It has to be different, I would imagine.
Actually, fight week's been pretty similar. Not too much of a difference at all.
My first time being here for his whole fight week.
Yeah. No, exactly the same, kind of.
So then what's fight week been like for you getting ready for a fight with Benson at the same time?
Not too much different than his normal fight weeks. It's just now I'm training a little bit too, but even his other fights I would go down and roll around with some of the guys too, so it's pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
It has to help that this is technically a hometown. I know you guys are up in Glendale, but
Yeah.
at least it's downtown here. First time you fought. Have you fought in Arizona since? Did you fight? I know you fought Anthony Pettis here, but you haven't really fought here since then, right?
No, first time since Pettis in 20 whenever that was.
Yeah,
a long time
WBC
ago.
days.
Yeah.
Has that been by design? Have you wanted to fight here, or do you like fighting away from home?
No, I love fighting here in my adopted hometown. It's nice. It's logistics are easy. You don't gotta worry about doing this and traveling here and carrying this and what you're bringing and what stores they have there. So that's the way it worked out.
We talked to Corey Anderson, and when he fought in Madison Square Garden, that was kind of a home crowd fight for him. And he said there are detriments, a lot of people pulling you different directions, asking for tickets and trying to go to the fight. Is that, she's already said, has that been a reality for the both of you?
We took care of that pretty early on. We just went, hit up Bellator and said, hey, we need about 50 tickets, and got all squared away. And after that, we're done with it. We're not dealing with it no more. So we were able to take care of that pretty much early on.
Everywhere you go, people always ask you for tickets, no matter what, no matter where it is. They're like, let me get a ticket. I'm like, okay, sure.
I guess, how did this whole thing come together, too? Was it something that you guys thought of and you kind of pitched it to Bellator and they were in, or did Bellator come to you and say, hey, we haven't done the amateur prelims for a while, but this seems like a perfect opportunity to do it?
No, we just told Bellator that, actually Bellator, I called Mike Hogan first and said about Maria wanting to fight or needing to fight anytime soon, yada yada. Like, oh, actually, we have a fight coming from Phoenix in like 6 months from now, 7 months from now. I was like, oh, cool. Or it was like 5 months from now. And then he said, we can get her on the card, no problem. I was like, oh, awesome, great, that's great. And he asked, well, you think you'll be ready for October? I was like, October in Phoenix, my wife's on the card. Like, I'll make sure I'm ready. I'll be ready for sure. And that was pretty much the gist of it. In a couple, 2-3 text messages, and it was done.
Easy enough, right?
Yeah.
That's great. And I guess for you, would you be open to kind of hoping that the Bellator keeps you around when you're ready to turn pro? You become part of the roster.
Yeah, I'm super grateful to be able to. My second fight ever being with Bellator, I would love to stay with Bellator. I think they're a great team. I love everybody behind the scenes. Like we've been saying, Bellator's more really family oriented, and they are really respectful of their fighters. They actually respect their fighters, so that's really nice. I love Bellator. I would love it when I went pro if they wanted to sign me. That'd be really awesome. Hint, hint. I'm just kidding. But I'm just grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be working with Bellator personally. I've tagged along with my husband for a lot of it, and I'm just grateful to be a part of their show too.
And you seem so calm, so do you kind of attribute that to kind of being by his side and seeing some of the big stages? Because obviously this is a big difference from what you fought at before. You're just going into an arena like this in your hometown.
Yeah, honestly, it's just a different part of the city and a different octagon, but it's the same thing as at home. And everybody strives to be on a bigger stage, right? So I'm just getting there a little bit sooner, so there's no reason to get antsy about it. I'm just grateful to be here, and as long as I think we always think about it that way, being grateful to have this opportunity to do this, because there's a lot of people who want to do it and don't get to do it. I'm just appreciative to be here, and I've been wanting to do this for a really long time, so I'm excited to actually get to do it now.
I know there's like 10 or 11 fights in between you guys' fights. Will you be cornering and vice versa or anything like that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
I'll be going my wife. Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
April 20th, 2013, Henderson versus Melendez, the proposal. Maria, were you training at that time?
Yeah, I was doing jiu-jitsu, not MMA, but I was doing jiu-jitsu. I was training with the fight team.
Yeah.
I trained with the fight team for their ground days to help with some of the female fighters, but I wasn't striking yet. But yeah, I was around.
Did you know about MMA before meeting Benson?
Yeah, I have 3 older brothers, but I didn't really know about it until I signed up at the lab, and then I got more into it just because we had a fight team at the gym. But I had brothers who liked the UFC. Like, I think my first fight ever watching was Hoist Gracie versus who's the wrestler? Matt Hughes. I think that was the first one I ever saw.
Good one there. And just mentioning that date and the Melendez fight, could you guys ever imagine a situation where maybe we get a Melendez rematch and the Kerry Melendez fight on the same night?
That would be funny.
I think Bellator would like that.
And for you again, Maria, like, is the preparation felt different for this fight going into it?
No, not really. Just a little bit different for stance-wise. We don't really know much about the girl, but we didn't know anything about my last girl. But it's basically the same thing. My husband's in there training all the time, and so really it was just training like normal, just a little bit more intense.
Is it difficult to balance motherhood and MMA?
Motherhood's difficult in
Right,
general.
right.
I think time management is really hard. When being a mom, we have 4 little kids, and so there's really no rest in between, where a lot of fighters maybe have 1 kid, maybe 2. Bader actually has 3, but as a mom, your kids are always all over you. They're like, oh God, Mom, kicking you in your face. You got cauliflower and they're slapping you with their water cups, and you're like, oh God, I love you so much. So time management is hard, but as long as we keep our kids' schedule and then we put in training between their schedule too, it balances out really well. And I have a great husband who, I go to physical therapy this time, he has the kids. He goes this time and I have the kids. And then the kids go to the gym at this time, and so we worked it out pretty well.
Yeah, got it down. And Benson, man, taking on Brent Primus, a very underappreciated grappler, jiu-jitsu guy, I think.
Yep.
Do you kind of like a matchup like that? A little fun to go to maybe potentially go to the ground with a guy like him?
Yeah, I think he should be pretty good. I think it should be pretty fun. I think he's a pretty strong guy, very jiu-jitsu oriented. He has his rubber guard, Sean Williams guard that he likes to go to and whatnot. I think it should be interesting how he approaches it, and if he tries to do the exact same thing as me, if he tries something a little bit different. It should be fun. I do like the matchup. Yeah.
Well, kind of going off of that, I asked Brian to compare his jiu-jitsu to your jiu-jitsu, and he just said, I'm better. I am a better jiu-jitsu player than Benson Henderson. So how would you compare your jiu-jitsu to Brent Primus's?
After I beat him up on Saturday night, we'll have a jiu-jitsu match also. I'll beat him up in that too.
And I actually looked this up. Brent Primus made his pro debut 3 months before you fought Anthony Pettis. So you've obviously been fighting for much longer. When did Brent Primus actually get on your radar? Was it when he became champion against Michael Chandler? Were you aware of him before?
No, I think the first time I ever heard his name was when he was fighting Chandler.
Did you consider him the champion at the time? I know because Michael Chandler he got that weird ankle injury with the leg kick, and he was saying that Brent's not really the champ. I got hurt. Did you consider Brent Primus the champion?
Whoever has the belt, if Scott Coker puts the belt on your waist and that guy's the belt holder, it doesn't make sense to me. If you get hurt in a fight, it's because the other guy's trying to hurt you.
Sure.
Normally, right? Pretty strange, side topic or whatever, similar, but fighting the little pit bull brother, and he kicked me. I checked his kick, and he ended up breaking his fibia or tibia, whichever shin bone it is. Like, yeah, it's an injury. It sucks. It's a weird injury, but like you train to check that, and if you get hurt and the guy caused it, kind of, it's on purpose. But I don't know, whatever. He was the belt holder. He was the champ. He got the belt around his waist. Just say good job, and I'll see you again. That's what you should do as a competitor, as an athlete. He's like, hey, good job. You got your hand raised. You won. You beat me this time. I'll see you next time, though, sucker.
Well, speaking of Pitbull, Brand openly laughed when I asked him about the vacant title fight that's happening between Patricky Pitbull and Peter Queally. He said it's an absolute joke that this fight isn't the title fight. So when you heard that Scott Coker from Pitbull announced that Patricio was vacating and Peter Queally Patricky, I can already see you smile. So what do you think about it?
I have no comment. If you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say anything. I tell my 4 kids that we have a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old at home. I tell my 6-year-old, my 4-year-old all the time, if you don't have nothing nice to say, just don't say it. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to add this, add that. Living what we preaching, living what we say, following up with our actions, not just saying, hey, do this, but then we do something different. But I'm just not gonna say anything.
Sure.
I don't need to say anything. It is what it is.
With your experience level, is it nice though? Does it kind of light a fire a little bit to know that there's movement with the title? Like it's not just that you're fighting, waiting for somebody else to figure it out?
That is the silver lining for sure. That we're not gonna sit around and wait for the little Pitbull brother to be ready and wait for this and wait for that, wait for this. Let's get the belt out there and somebody defending the belt. I am all for that. After I win the belt, I'm gonna be open to defending it right away.
Cool. Good.
I just have one more question for Benson. A lot has been made about greatest lightweight of all time in recent months, but outside of, I'm not going to ask you who you think is the greatest, but how do you quantify greatness? Is it the lack of losses? Is it title defenses? Is it longevity on top of a division? So how would you, Benson Henderson, quantify that?
Well, that's a good question, I think. And for me, the greatest lightweight fighter of all time was going to be BJ Penn. I think for me, a big part of that is going to be longevity. Look at the greatest boxers of all time. Who's the greatest boxer? Every single person is going to say Julio Cesar Chavez or Sugar Ray Robinson. Neither one of them was. Chavez was undefeated, right? Up to a certain.
He had like 90-something straight wins before his loss.
Before his loss, yeah. But it was longevity, but you still lose, you know. So losses aren't, and Sugar Ray Robinson had like 15 losses or 20 losses like that, but he was like 90 and whatever it was, you know. So to me, it's not being undefeated. That's kind of a cop-out, that you should take a loss and then show the champion you are. You should come back and then go on another 15-fight win streak or whatever the case may be, you know. So for me, a lot of it is going to be longevity and bouncing back from adversity, coming back from a loss and going on another 15-fight win streak or winning another belt or whatever the case may be.
And who you're fighting.
And obviously, John Jones is up there, one of the greatest fighters of all time. Demetrius Johnson, G is up there for one of the greatest fighters of all time. But sadly, not GJ's fault, but he didn't have the greatest opponents to fight. He didn't have the great big names to fight like John Jones did. John Jones had how many former champions that he fought and he put away. Not, you know, GJ's fault, but he didn't have those like former champions to beat. He beat everybody and he finished them all.
With
Exciting,
style.
and then, yeah, with style. Like, I love DJ. He finished everybody. He was going after finishes in the 5th round, knowing he won. Could have just walked away with it. Couldn't just skated and coasted by. But he went hard for that W. Went hard for the finish. So I love DJ for that. But he doesn't have like big former champion, big names to fight off against. So that's another big one, is who you fight. For me, the greatest lightweight fighter of all time would be BJ, hands down. But that's my own personal opinion. Who cares what I think?
Appreciate you.